Welcome! This is Dr. Plague, and I wanted to make a video that pays tribute to a gentleman who authored several books on computer games. His name was Tim Hartnell. Unfortunately, he passed away at the young age of 40 back in 1991. As of the date of this video, it's been about 30 years since he passed, and I think it's time to honor his legacy. I was digging around in some boxes in my basement, and I came across several of his books and realized it's been 30 years since his passing. So, in this video, I'd like to talk a little about the man, the legacy, and the contributions he made to the world of personal computers. I'll also be demonstrating some of the games that appear in his books, starting with some of his simpler text games, and by the end of the video, I'll show you some of his more impressive color graphics arcade-style games. When I use the word graphics, I am referring to text graphics, but they weren't that bad given what they were. So, please stick around and help me pay tribute to this wonderful and unique author, Tim Hartnell. One of the first computers I had growing up was an IBM PC Junior. I also had some others, such as a PET Commodore, a Commodore 16, and a Tandy Pocket Computer PC6, along with some PC compatibles. One of the things that all these computers had in common was they could all be programmed in BASIC. BASIC stands for Beginner's All Symbolic Instruction Code. Tim Hartnell authored several books that presented the source code to games written in BASIC. I have 3 of his books here to show you. The first one is his second giant book of computer games, which included over 40 games, all typed up in BASIC. This was actually the first book of his that I ever bought. I did at one time have his first giant book of computer games, which I bought after buying his second giant book, but unfortunately I can't find it. I don't think I would have gotten rid of it, but it is possible. If I do find it in the future, I may make another video on it. Many of his books have been converted to PDF files, and I have found several of them for free on the internet. I'm not sure of the legalities of these PDFs with copyright and such, so I'm not going to include any links, but if you are interested, you can search for them yourself. The next book of his that I have is Creating Adventure Games on Your Computer. This one included several games in BASIC, and a lot of instructions on how to write your own adventure games. The last book I have of his is titled Tim Hartnell's Executive Games for the IBM PC and XT. This book took advantage of color text and sound on those computers. There were other books around that time that had basic game listings, such as this here, Basic Computer Games by David H. Owl. We'll get to some examples in Tim's books, but first, let's talk a little about Tim Hartnell. Now, just as a disclaimer, this info is to the best of my knowledge. I could be wrong, but this is what I remember about him. If you have any corrections or maybe personally knew Tim Hartnell, then please leave your info in the comments. I would love to hear what others know about Tim. Now, from my understanding, Tim started out as a journalist who grew up in Australia and worked in London. He was not an expert with computers in any way, but he ended up purchasing a Sinclair ZX80. He was trying to use it and was having difficulties with it. Interestingly, he used a frozen carton of milk to help keep the computer cool. He studied books on computers and learned as much as he could about the basic programming language. This led him to starting a club for those ZX80 computer users and eventually authoring a book titled Making the Most of Your Sinclair ZX80. Tim returned to Australia in the mid-80s and wrote computer articles for magazines and such. He authored many books on computer games written in BASIC. Tim unfortunately passed away of cancer in 1991. He was only 40, and sadly, the world lost a great author and computer enthusiast. He will be greatly missed by many of us. Now, let's take a look at some examples of the games he has in his books. Remember, these won't be as impressive as the games we have nowadays, but this was what we had back in my day. I'll start with the second giant book of computer games. I remember when I first saw this book at a software store named B. Dalton's Software, etc., there was one game in it that caught my eye. That was the game of golf. You can see that there are several categories of games in the table of contents, and golf is under a section called the Sporting Challenge. The book gives a description of the game along with some examples of the gameplay, and then the program listing in BASIC. So I went ahead and typed this game into a BASIC compiler called QB64, which is free to download. So check it out if you want to write some BASIC programs. This game requires 2 players, so I'll need to find someone to play with.
Can I try?
Sure. I'll start the game and enter our names. I'll go first to show you how it works. So, we start out with hole number 1, 333 meters from the pin, and it asks which club to use. You can press enter to see which clubs are available, and I'll choose club number 1, which is a number 1 wood. Next, it asks me which force to hit it with. Again, I can press enter to find out what options are available, and I'll choose full power. Now I'm 64 meters from the pin, so I'll choose a 9-iron and give it a force of 0.95. Fantastic! Now I'm on the green. I'm 8.9 meters from the pin, and it asks what putting force, so I'll press enter to see my options, and I'll choose 4.5. And I got it in. Now it's your turn. Which club?
I choose club number 1, please, with full force.
You're 82 meters from the pin. Which club?
I'll take a 6-iron, please, with a force of 0.7.
You're on the green with 12.7 meters to go. What putting force?
I'll use a force of 6, please.
Okay, you're 1.6 meters from the pin. Which putting force?
0.7, please.
Now you're 0.5 meters from the pin. What force do you want?
0.25.
You got it in. The score is 3-5, and we'll fast forward to the end. Look at that! Mrs. Plague won with 64, and I got 72. You were 8 under par. Great job!
I guess I just have a knack for golf.
Let's check out the next book, Creating Adventure Games on Your Computer, and you can see the table of contents. I'm going to go ahead and type in the game for Chateau on page 159, and you can see there is quite a bit to it. And here it is. I'll go ahead and start it. So it tells me that I come across a small ramshackle shed in the woods with a ladder going down a hole, and asks me what I want to do. This game will accept any 2-word sentence, so I'll say go down. Now it says there's a small door leading east, so I'll walk east. Oh no, there's a monster in here. What should I do? There's also a sword, so I'll get that first. Now I'll fight the monster. I need to choose 2 attributes to fight with, so I'll choose dexterity and wisdom. Okay, I must have won the fight, and there are heavily tarnished mirrors around the east door, so obviously my curiosity tells me to go east. And I fell into a pool of acid. Wow! At least I finished off a monster, and I got a score of 72. That was interesting. And now let's check out my last book, Executive Games for the IBM PC and XT. You can see the contents, but I want to show you a couple games from the Effective Graphics section. The first game I'll show you is Breakthrough. Now, just a heads up, QB64 may not emulate the original IBM PC Basic perfectly, so the sound and speed may be off, but I'll try to adjust the speed a little. You use the Z and M keys on the keyboard to move a little paddle around and try to hit a ball to knock out some bricks. Not perfect, and I may have made some typos when entering the code, but this gives you a basic idea of the gameplay. What the heck is that sound? This is crazy. Okay, enough of that. Let's look at a game called Squisher and Squasher. It's a little like Pac-Man, and you use the A and Z keys to move up and down, along with the comma and period keys to move left and right. The idea is to eat as many pellets as possible before Squisher or Squasher get you. Okay, that's annoying. Squisher and Squasher are smiley faces, and you control a diamond. A very annoying sound, but that's what we had back in those days. Enough. So, that gives you a little taste of Tim Hartnell's games. Thank you for joining me in this little adventure into the past. If you liked this video, then please peck at that like button and leave any comments below. Thank you, and I'll see you next time, right here on Dr. Plague.